How's everything going over there with you?
Everything's good, man. Just trying to navigate life through this nation right now with everything that's happening. So it's obviously a lot of anxiety that's going on being a black man in this country right now. But God is good, and I'm just surviving every single day, man. Just praying for a better day to come.
Right, right.
Yep. What about you?
Uh, Honestly, same thing. Taking it one day at a time. Being black, growing up,
Yeah.
you see it, and you feel it, and it's like certain things. Like I remember when I was little, and we used to go in the store, and my mom would always like take your hood off, take your hands out your pocket, and I didn't get that until I got older, and now I see what she was talking about back then.
Right.
So like
hmm
things start to come full circle. So
You said it right. You feel it, man. A lot of people feel like, oh, well, they don't see the racism, or they don't understand it, or your white friends feel that way. Like, you know what? Nobody's calling you the N word. Nobody's hanging you in effigy, and it's not blatant or whatnot. But you feel racism these days, and being a black man, like you said, you can just walk into a store, and feel followed, or the reaction that somebody gets when you walk past them on the streets. So we've been actually preparing for COVID-19 for a long period of time because white women have been walking off. So we walk down the street, white women have walked to the other side of the street for a long period of time, social distancing from us. So we've been prepared for that for a long period of time.
Hey everybody, it's William Carter here with InquisitiveCarter.com.
okay, now we're ready to jump on into it.
Just do it, man.
All right. So, Mike, you are a sportscaster on Fox News. You
Mm-hmm.
have your show, the Mike and Donnie Show, on Fox TV. So
Mm-hmm.
you're an official but unofficial member of the Real Housewives of Atlanta.
Right, right.
And now you're adding author to your impressive resume.
Wow.
How does all that feel for you?
Oh man, it feels great. I mean, when people say you're an author, that's crazy. Because I've been a broadcaster for 25 years, and obviously I've been doing Real Housewives of Atlanta with Cynthia for the last 2 years or whatnot. So kind of gotten used to a lot of that type of stuff. But having an author owning my name, regardless of how this book does in the stores or whatnot, how many it sells, I feel great because I accomplished something. I put it out there. And what's crazy is when I was writing Open Mic, I really did not think that I was actually going to release it because it was more so my therapy than anything. But I feel like there are some things that are in the book, some of my pain, some of my traumas that if I did put it out there and whoever reads it, if they're going through something that's similar, if it awakens them to go get the help that they need, then I'm doing my job.
Right. Right. So Open Mic is now available for pre-order. The name, it made sense. When I heard the name, I'm like, okay, I see where you're going with it. I can rock with it,
You feel it. You feel it.
Right. And it's about, it makes sense because it's about you opening up on your life, what you've been through, things that you've experienced. But how did everything all come about, from the title to the stories you chose to the cover art?
All that stuff, man. I first started writing it in 2014 because people say you got an interesting story with your background, what you've been through in your career, your personal life. A lot of the things that people see, they see this image of Mike Hill and they think you grew up a certain way, but they don't know how you came up and the things that you had to go through to actually get to where you are. And I was like, nobody's gonna read this book. I'm not a celebrity. Never felt like I was a celebrity at all or whatever. It's not gonna be that big of a deal, but. So I started writing in 2014, but then I really didn't have the passion to finish it. And then in 2017, something hit me and it said that I had to write it. I don't know what it was, but God spoke to me and basically said, you got to write this book. And I started writing. And once I started writing that book, I was starting to uncover a lot of the pains that I didn't even know that I had buried for so many years. A lot of these pains, a lot of these traumas that and William actually had been holding me back for years from my purpose, both personally and professionally. So it became my therapy. And once I started writing, I couldn't stop. And it started coming out of me. And it was almost like I was regurgitating. So I tell people, like, if I wouldn't have written this book in 2017 when I did, I probably would have died because on the outside, I had this happiness that I exuded to people. But on the inside, I was really hurting and I really didn't even know it. So I wrote it and I said, if I'm going to write it, I'm going to be open about it. I'm going to be transparent. And that's one of the reasons why on the book cover, like you mentioned, was the reason behind the book cover, is because I wanted to tell the naked truth. If I'm going to tell my truth, I'm going to tell the entire truth. And I'm going to talk about the things, not only that what people did to me, but what I did to other people. So you see me on there naked, telling the naked truth. You see me on there being transparent, open, nothing to hide, being the most vulnerable I can absolutely be, stepping out of the shadows. That's why it's in black and white, of my pain, and then walking into the light. And if you see my head is bowed down because I'm not happy or I'm embarrassed by some of the things that I've done to myself and to other people. And I'm wrapped in these, the ropes of the microphone, because obviously I'm a broadcaster, but the ropes have been my chains for so many years. It's been kind of bounding me. So I'm trying to break through all that type of stuff. So that was all the symbolism that was involved in the book cover. And open mic, obviously, my name is Mike, and you know what the open mic is as a broadcaster. Some things you just don't want to say around the open mic, but I choose to in this book.
Right. So following up on that, May is Mental Health Awareness Month, and I'm a strong advocate for mental health, especially in the Black community.
Mm-hmm.
And you had said like writing this book was therapy for you.
Mm-hmm.
So are you able to share any of the issues that you dealt with during the writing process?
Yeah, I mean, I think the issues, like I said, when I started writing, I didn't realize I had any issues. I didn't realize when I started writing this book, I didn't realize that I had mental health issues of pain. Like I said, when I started writing it, I was writing my memoirs, but I started undigging a lot of stuff because I was going over my life and realizing that, oh my gosh, when this happened at 15 years old, this affected me for the next 30 years. And when it started clicking, everything started clicking. It's almost like when you and I go to mental therapy, I go to mental health every Friday. As a matter of fact, I speak to my therapist. Every time I go there, there's something that I say when I'm just opening up to her that kind of unlocks a door that tells me about something that actually happened to me in my past that's affecting my present and my future, unless I address it or whatnot. So yes, May is Mental Health Month. It's one of the reasons we wanted to get the pre-sales out there and let people know that I encourage mental health and therapy because, I figured out a couple of things that happened in my life, but I still need to go through it. And as a Black man, as you mentioned, in this society right now, the anxiety, the pain, the depression, and the hurt that we feel that we just kind of, in a sense, take because this has just been our life. And we feel like, oh, this is just normal. This is what we have to go through as Black men. It ain't right. And if you don't go and get some help to kind of relieve some of that pressure, some of that pain, man, it could really affect you. So I really encourage people, everybody, especially if you're a Black man out there, go and speak to somebody some kind of way and just get some of that stuff off your chest, because I guarantee you it will make you a better person.
Right. Wow. It's funny because as I hear you speak and I relate to it on different levels. So it's like I'm starting to do the work in terms of seeking therapy, looking up, who to go to and everything like that. So when you see somebody that's actually doing the work and I hear what you're saying, that's something I want to be able to get to say, it kind of hits you a little differently, especially,
right.
Coming from a Black man, it definitely do hit you differently.
Well, that's the platform. And that's one of the reasons why, if I got a little bit of a platform or whatever, and I'm standing and people are listening to me, like I said, I got to be honest, and I want to help my people. I want to help everybody, but I definitely need to help my brothers and sisters out there, because we grew up a certain way of feeling like if you ask for help, you are admitting weakness, and that's not the case. I think when you ask for help, you are admitting that you're a strong person and you want to get stronger. That's the way I have to look at it, and we have to change that rhetoric. We got to change that mindset that we've been taught all these many years that's been actually holding us back. While other people, non-Black, non-people of color, have been going out there and getting the help that they need or whatnot so they can excel in life. We need to try and excel in life. In order to do that, we need to go out there and talk to somebody to get some of those issues that I was just talking about previously off our chest and speak about it and find a route or find some kind of game plan, in a sense, to move forward to make yourself a better person. So that's why I'm advocating for it, because I know what it's done for me. Even writing the book, that was my first form of therapy and made me realize that I need more therapy. So once you get something fixed, you need to continue to put that maintenance in, and that's important. So you may think, okay, I talked about it, got it off my chest, I'm good. Not necessarily. If you don't continue to follow up and talk to somebody about that, it's almost like would you buy a car, it's brand new off the lot, and something goes wrong after a couple of years and you get that engine fixed or whatever, but then you never have an oil change the rest of the time, that car eventually is going to break down. So you got to keep that maintenance going even after you get that initial fix.
So granted, we know what it's like, growing up as Black men. We have the stigma of boys don't cry, man up, everything. Black people, we talk to like keep it in the household, keep it under the rug, all those things, right? So how do you think we can work on breaking those stereotypes that we've held on for so long in order to help people help themselves?
Well, talk about it. Like if you have gone through any kind of mental therapy or mental health, another thing we've been taught about is if you are going through something, don't tell nobody that you're going through something, or don't tell them that you're actually seeking help to get the help. Nobody wants to admit, even in other communities, they never want to admit, oh, you're seeing a shrink, you're seeing a therapist, you're seeing somebody like that, because they look at you and say, oh, he must be crazy. Something must be wrong with him. Yeah, something is wrong with me. And I'm trying to get fixed. I'm trying to get better. It doesn't mean that there's something that is stopping me from living or succeeding in society somewhat, but if it's something that's going to make me a better person so that I can make the world a better place to live in, then that is my duty. That's my obligation, not only as a U.S. citizen, but as a human being. And that's what I'm trying to do. So if you're a person that is out there and you know you've needed help in the past and you seek some kind of mental therapy or some kind of mental health help, speak about it, talk about it. You don't have to have a huge platform. You just need to, reach out to your friends that you may see that might be going through something, because I'll tell you what, the people who need the help the most a lot of times are the people that smile in your face and you wouldn't think they had a care in the world. But those are the people, man, that have a way of suppressing all that pain, that anger, that sadness, depression and whatnot. And then the next thing you know, like wondering what happened to that person because something tragic happened. And you know what I'm saying? When it comes to that. And like, why he never or she never seemed like she was sad, or she was always so happy or whatnot. And then something snaps and something happens to that person. So check up on people as well. When you ask people how they doing, really mean it. How are you doing? Follow up or whatnot. And if you got good friends, I think there's something that's inside of us that's innate, that you can tell when somebody is telling you the truth or not when they say, how you doing? Because their patterns change. So watch out for patterns as well. So just encourage it, man, because it's something that I really feel like is needed in this nation right now.
Right. Going through what we just talked about, going through the stories that you wrote for your book, what story would you say was the hardest for you to tell, and why?
When my mom going through domestic violence, man. I mean, that's still tough for me right now, to be honest with you. Like, people don't understand, like that's another thing I'm talking about, man. Something that affects you as a kid, you don't even realize, because I'm like almost 50 years old and I still get emotional talking about it now. When you're a kid and you're a boy and you want to be a man, and you hear your mom crying, man. You hear your mom getting her ass whipped, man, by somebody that's supposed to love her. You know what I'm saying? And my first memory of my life is hearing my mom screaming my name. And I can't do anything about it because this man is grown and I'm afraid that he's going to hurt me too. You know what I'm saying? So when something like that happens, man, it's like, that's trauma that you've just suppressed for so many years. Now, luckily, I didn't grow up hitting women. I didn't grow up abusing women. I abused them in other ways, in the mentality of, cheating and infidelity and all that type of stuff, man. But I never physically put my hands on another woman. Thank God for that. And I think that was something I saw happening to my mom. So I was like, I will never do that to another woman or whatever. And I always been taught by my grandmother and my mom never to do that. But that had a really big effect on my life, maybe as far as like how I treated women mentally as well, though. You know what I mean? Just like, I just didn't know how to properly love a woman. And there are other things that happened, when I was 15, 16 years old that, first time I told a girl I loved you, that had an effect on me or whatnot. And then just life in general, man. So there's so many different stories that I go through talking about things that happened to me over the course of my life that, okay, well, this happened here. And this, in my opinion, is the reason why this continued throughout my life until I got the help that I needed. So yeah, I mean, it's a lot of things in there, man, that triggers a lot of stuff for me. And once again, you know, obviously I'm still kind of affected by it.
Your family, have they read the book yet?
I let my sent it to my mom. My mom hasn't read it yet. I sent it to some family members, close friends. You know, my fiance, Cynthia's read it. Just the rough draft, just like the raw stuff. I mean, even before I even sent it to the publisher, so they can do their editing and part of their ghostwriting and whatnot. But they say it's raw. And my cousin, who has known me my entire life, she said, you hit every point. And the other people that I've read it outside of my family, there have been people that told me I shouldn't put it out because it could hurt my career. But my whole point is, like, if it hurts my career at this point, I'm helping somebody else. So if I got to be the sacrifice to help other people live their life to their fullest and be better, then that's what I have to do. That's just what I got to do. So yeah, I mean, the feedback has been good. I'm still, I want my daughters to read it because there are some things in there about their moms that, you know, I'm concerned about, but I've told them what I wrote. But I want them to read it for themselves, man, so that they can see and not be shocked or surprised by anything that comes out when it does come out.
I can see in your eyes, even through camera, I can see in your eyes that, you know, you're still dealing with this pain. You're still trying to maneuver. You're still trying to figure things out. And it's a powerful thing to see.
Yeah, I mean, look, man, what I've learned to do is let it out. You know, once again, me and Black, don't admit that you help. Don't show emotions. Don't be emotional. Don't cry. That's weak. You know, you're being a sissy. You're being whatever they want to call you when you're growing up or whatever. You know, you're supposed to take that. You're supposed to be tough. And that is a big reason why we're probably maybe the toughest species on the face of the earth. At the same time, being the toughest species on the face of the earth sometimes can be detrimental to your health because you are able to absorb and try and take in so much without releasing it, whatnot. So what I've learned to do over a period of time, man, it's like if there's something that's in my heart that I'm feeling, an emotion that I have, I got to let it go. If there's a depression or a hurt somebody gives to me, I got to let people know that that hurt me. You know, I think as men, sometimes, even in relationships, you know, we always hear the women saying, well, you know, what you said, what you did, that hurt me, you know, and they can get away with it. And you're like, oh, I'm sorry if I hurt your feelings or whatever. But sometimes, a lot of times, men, even when in their relationships, if a woman does something to affect them, they can never come out and basically, you know, what you said, it hurt me. We never admit that. We never want to admit that. But it's important that if your feelings are hurting in any kind of way, in any relationship, whether it be personal or professional, it's important for you to speak up and speak your mind and get that off your chest in some kind of way. Not necessarily just to your best friend who probably won't give you the best advice in the world sometimes or whatnot, but speak to a professional, somebody that is a conduit from God. Because once again, what we do is like, oh, if you got something, take it to Jesus, take it in prayer, what you're supposed to do. And I do take it to Jesus in prayer, but God and Jesus also has conduits here, angels down here set aside that they have anointed that are here to help you physically as well, that you can talk to. So make sure you get that stuff off my chest. I know I keep on harping on that, man, but it is important to release that stuff that's built up inside you that's affecting you.
It's funny that you mentioned how men, they talk like, you know, keep it inside, don't say nothing, especially, you know, if you're in a relationship with a woman. And then literally, I just saw this tweet the other day that was going viral. The dude has said, as a man, literally quote, as a man, you're never supposed to tell your woman what you're going through. You're not supposed to vent to her. And it's funny you say that because you have to work through that. You was working through that. And then you had Cynthia write the foreword for you. Yeah. So how were you able to kind of, cause like what he said is kind of like ingrained in the community for years. Like, you know, man up, don't vent, keep it to yourself. And you took it from however you took it, and not only did you share, but you also had your fiance help you, you know?
Right. If it wasn't for this book, the timing was right. Like I said, before I started writing this book, I wasn't ready for a relationship because I had so many things, once again, that was affecting my relationships. I've never been in love before until now. I've loved people. I've been married twice, and I love my wives. I still love the mother of my children. Don't get me wrong. I do that. I love them, but I've never been in love because the pain, the anger, all the things that are suppressed for so many years would not allow me to love. It would not allow me to love myself because I was living a lie. I was a boy until I was 47 years old. I was a male all my entire life, but I thought I was a man, but I was living a boyish life for 47 years until I wrote this book and got some of that stuff out. So the timing was right when I met Cynthia. When I started talking to Cynthia, I was actually in the process of writing this book. And as I was in the process of writing this book, she would ask me what I'm doing or whatnot. And she said, well, read me something. And I would read it to her. And it was so raw, it was so honest, it was transparent that it actually made our relationship grow closer. And she said, I want to read the whole thing. So when I sent it to her, she said, I want to write the foreword for you, because it touched her. So it wrote the foreword. So it definitely helps to have a woman that understands your emotions and understands your pains and still looks at you as a full man, even if you express some of those angers and those pains and those sadness or whatever. Yeah, there are certain people that you can't do that around because they're going to take that to their advantage and make that to their advantage or whatever. But at the same time, you still got to release that. You mentioned man up. We always talk to man up. Well, sometimes when we man up, if you do it too much and you don't release some of that stuff, it's going to be man down because you're going to die. Really, straight up.
You ain't wrong. You ain't wrong. Because personally, I've been through it where from a young age, where everything just kept piling up and piling up and piling up. And like Keaton and I, we spoke on this a little bit briefly like a couple weeks ago. And I was telling her I was thankful that, I had met her and meeting her at an event, because for years, I'm 25 now. I didn't see myself making it past 18.
Wow.
So,
that's our mentality, bro. Think about that. How many black men do you know put a age limit on their lives at a young age, depending on the environment they grew up in? I thought I was going to be dead by the age of 30. I don't know what it was, but 30 was my cutoff date. I was like, I'm going to be dead at 30. You said you didn't think it was going to, because of the environment sometimes you grow up in. Think about that. Just thinking that's trauma. You're not even thinking about your future growing old. You worry about today and not making it to your 18th birthday. Man, if that ain't trauma, if that ain't pain, if that's not something that you have to go through, which we've gotten used to, and that's the problem, there is no other kind of pain. You don't hear a lot of non-people of color saying things like that unless they're severely depressed. And when they're severely depressed, a lot of times they go and get the help they need, because it could be insurance, it could be, but there are other ways, man. So one of the things we need to fight for when it comes to our Black agenda, when it comes to that, is free healthcare, mental health care for all of us, because we go through it, man, because of our society and the mentality that we have. We have a really effed up mentality a lot of times, bro. It really is. And I can preach on that for days, which I won't. That's another day to get into that. But we do sometimes, because we're so divided about how we go about things and how people view us as Black people, not necessarily non-people of color, but I'm talking about our own and how they view us. But we have got to understand that, man, it's us individually that matters the most. So if your boys, your girls, and everybody wants to laugh, you ain't doing it, man, if you feel it on the inside, you go get the help you need. Who cares what they think? And let them die a slow death if that's what they choose to do.
Right. And I think everybody kind of, especially us, you had to get to that point. And sometimes it can take months, it can take years. Like you said, some people feel they're fully grown, but they're not, mentally they're not fully grown. They're not an adult. They're not a man. They're still in that, little boy mindset. So I think it definitely takes a while to get to that point, especially getting outside your own head, which is another challenge.
Yeah, you got to, once again, everybody's born a male. You're born with a penis. You're born, every boy is born a male. Like because you're born with a penis, then obviously they're saying you're a boy. What is it going to take? How do you find that maturity to step into your manhood? That's the thing. And it takes maturity. It takes certain things. It takes certain aspects of your life and growing, not just from a physical standpoint, but from a mental standpoint, to step into true manhood. And there's still a lot of men or boys that are over 21 that think they're men, acting like they're men or feeling like they're men, but they're still boys. So I know that's kind of confusing or whatever, man, but at the same time, like I said, it took me 47 years to realize that I was still living a boy's life but acting like a man.
Right. No, I get it. I understand. Believe me, I understand. Oh Lord. So going back to the book, all right, something that you said that I was so intrigued by was you talking about your stepfather was a hitman.
Yeah.
What was that moment like for you finding that out?
Well, what's crazy is like, you know, it's in the book, but I give a little bit of piece. It's like, I knew my stepfather wasn't the greatest person on the face of the earth. I knew he was, he abused my mom. I knew he had killed a man before. He had gotten away with it because of self-defense. That's what he said and whatnot. Being in the wrong place, wrong time, being with a woman that he shouldn't have been with while he's with my mom or whatever. So stepping out on my mom, but all that type of stuff. I knew that he had beaten people before. I knew he had done some seedy stuff. But it was at a moment in his life when my mom had left him and I came home from the military, and I was just, he was still my dad. It's my stepfather. This man that raised me, gave me his last name or whatnot, because I wasn't born a Hill. He adopted me when I was 15 years old and gave me his last name. So I looked at him as my dad, and I tried to help him because he was at wit's end. He had, gotten on drugs. Like I said, my mom had left him. He was just spiraling out of control, and I was trying to talk to him. And I remember this like it was yesterday. We was on the front porch in Bessemer, Alabama at his house, and he just started telling me stuff about aspects of his life. And I just remember him just basically saying, yeah, I carried out hits. And I'm like, hits? What do you mean? And then he just told me basically what that entails. So like, I'll let you read it in the book, but it was something that just kind of stood out to me. And like I said, he spent the last 9 years of his life because he couldn't get it under control for murder for hire. But I'll let you let you see why he actually went to jail for those 9 months when you read the book. Those 9 years, I should say, when you read the book.
So why do you think you were able to, even though you say you had to work through certain things growing up, becoming a man, why do you think you didn't take on some of his characteristics in terms of that element?
That's a really good question, man. I don't know. I really don't know, man. I think I've always had this innate ability to learn from a lot of people's mistakes. However, if you taught me something, it was going to stick. He never taught me to live a life of crime, or he knew when he was physically and mentally abusing my mom, he knew something was wrong. But once again, this is a man that needed mental therapy. Once again, if he would have gotten the help he needed from a mental standpoint, he wouldn't have been an alcoholic. He wouldn't have gotten on drugs. Maybe he wouldn't have been as violent to women as he was, when he was alive and whatnot. But I always had like this innate ability, man. Like I knew like that's wrong. I don't like that. I'm not doing that. But when it came to the women, it was something that he taught me about women and how to entertain them or treat them or whatever. That kind of stuck with me. And I guess because I wanted to impress him in a sense, I don't know why, as a boy, it just kind of stuck and that became part of my lifestyle or whatever. But yeah, I mean, that's a really good question, man. I don't know. It's just, it's crazy that it happened. But I just always knew that some of the things that he was doing was wrong, and I didn't want to do
that. Right. So learning or like unlearning how to treat women, your relationship, your wife, ex-wife, now current fiance, Cynthia. How was it like quarantining as a family? Trying to blend everything. Let's go back to being light right now.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I mean, like it's been. You know what? This quarantine is proven to me, man, that this is the right family I'm supposed to have. This right blended family I'm supposed to have. I mean, Cynthia and I have literally been on top of one another, not in a sense, literally and figuratively been on top of one another for the last 3 months straight. And no space to go, hardly ever going out, going to see, can't go to restaurants, can't enjoy life, can't get away from each other. But we've grown tighter. We've grown closer. We've had our ups and downs. We've had our arguments. We've had our blowouts. We've done all that type of stuff. It's almost been like a marriage. But if anything with this quarantine has taught me is that this is the woman that I really want to marry. I want to be with. So it's made us closer. And then my kids being here too, and they grew up without me in their household or whatnot for the most part. But them being here has actually stabilize our relationship as well. So it's been a blessing in disguise. Do I want it to be over? Absolutely, because I want to be able to go wherever I want to go when I want to go there. But what I've also learned is that I don't need to go everywhere. I actually enjoy being at home and just chilling out and taking care of business. So, once again, I look at things that way and try and find a positive out of it to get that spin so that I don't dwell on the negatives, because the negatives, once again, that seeks in, that becomes toxic, and that can control your life as well.
So, final question. You ready?
Yep.
So you're turning Open Mic into a series. Supposed to come out June 3rd.
Mm-hmm.
What can you tell us about the show, your concept behind taking the book and making it into a series?
Well, there's so many different aspects of Open Mic, so many different chapters, so to speak, that what I wanted to do is speak to other men who have gone through something similar to what I have gone through in my life, from, seeing their mom go through domestic violence, whatnot, trying to establish a better relationship with their kids because they didn't grow up with their kids, whether their kids didn't grow up with them. Men that have overcome their cheating past and been labeled as cheaters or whatever, other men that go through mental therapy or whatever, men in the business that have, or any kind of business that have gone through ups and downs and experienced racism or whatever, and just being a Black man out here in society. So I wanted to take an open mic series, call them open mic sessions, and once a week, basically speak to these people who may be Black celebrities or just male celebrities, period, and talk to them about certain things in their lives and just be open about it and be totally transparent and just put everything out on the line. So it's going to be raw. It's going to be unadulterated. It's going to be entertaining, but hopefully very informative and something that people can really get a couple of golden nuggets out of that can actually help them with their lives as well.
Beautiful. Perfect.
Thanks, man. Appreciate it.
Thank you. I appreciate you, talking to me, taking time out your schedule, because you only have to. So I definitely do appreciate it.
Nah, I had to, bro. I wanted to. This is a blessing for me too. So I never look at that, man. Whenever I can talk and reach the masses and talk to a young brother like you, man, that's doing this thing, that's always a pleasure. I much rather talk to you than talk to a bigger news organization, because this is hitting home a little bit more, and I appreciate that.